Alright, you guys, quick update on the motor flip project. I just posted it late last night for 4,500, and I've already got 2 people hitting me up regarding the motorcycle. I haven't even posted it yet on Craigslist, so, and if I can make the 4,500, then we'll be looking at a pretty decent profit, and then on to the next flip. Alright, what up you guys? John's Motor Garage. Welcome back to the channel. Today I bring to you the Triumph Thunderbird. We're going to do a ride review. We'll talk a little bit about how this bike compares and stacks up with your Harley cruisers as well as your metric cruisers. There's some unique things about this bike both within the Triumph world as well as within the cruiser world in general. So we'll talk about that as well. I'll go over my thoughts and impressions. Do I dig it? Do I hate it? Do I love it? So all that good stuff and more with the Triumph Thunderbird. Of course, we'll start off with a little bit of a walk around. Look at that beautiful 1700cc parallel twin, not a V-twin. Dual exhaust, 104 cubic inch. Come around to the front. You got the running lights, highway lights, all that good stuff. I must say, I think this bike in person looks a lot better than in the pictures. It's a pretty good looking bike. Alright, so for starters, you throw a leg over, and this tank is freaking massive, dude. Super wide, massive tank. And the bars kind of come back to you. It's kind of like a beach cruiser style bars, similar to your Road King. Fuel injected, of course. Go and fire it up. Let it warm up a little bit. And just like that, we're off. Alright, so I'll start with some of the basic boring stuff. It's a 2010 Triumph Thunderbird, and that's the first year they came out with this bike. They had both the 1600cc and then they had a big bore 1700cc from the factory, and that's what this is. It's got a whopping about 84 horsepower and I think around 107 foot-pounds of torque. Now Triumph is no stranger to big, large displacement cruisers. They're the creators of the Rocket 3, the 2.3 liter largest displacement production cruiser available. But when they came out with this, it was basically bridging the gap between their 865 900cc parallel twin Bonneville kind of cafe racer style options, Speedmaster, and their massive Triumph Rocket 3. And a few unique things about this bike: it was the first Triumph that they offered with a belt drive instead of a chain drive or shaft drive. And then additionally, this was the largest displacement production parallel twin bike available. I don't know if that's still the case or not, but that's pretty crazy. She sounds pretty good, man. She really does. The cool thing with a parallel twin is it has a little bit different personality than your V-twin. And Triumph, they're no stranger to competing with bikes like Harley and all that, but they've always just kind of done their own thing. So where most brands, they're trying to compete with Harley, they're going to come up with a V-twin similar to Harley. So look at Yamaha, Kawasaki, Suzuki, all those guys. They come up with a V-twin, try to make it look like Harley, try to make it sound like Harley. Triumph's like, dude, we don't care about any of that, man. Let's do a large displacement parallel twin, because that's what we do. As you can tell, the performance is there. You get on the throttle and it takes off. It's fun. It handles well. It had been a while since I rode a big cruiser, and so first jumping on this, I felt like, oh man, this is kind of top heavy. But once you get on it and start moving, you get used to it quickly. And I don't know what it is, man. I really enjoy these parallel twin engines. Comes standard with your ABS brakes, dual discs in the front, single in the rear, of course, and braking's on point. Of course, I've never done anything crazy with it, but it stops when I need to stop. You got your forward controls, not so far forward at 5'8" that I feel like a crazy stretch. It's actually just about right. The only thing I'll note is these handlebars, similar to with the Road King, your stock bars, you feel almost like you're sitting up over the bike and not so much in the bike like a lazy boy. And that's where with the Road King, the ape hangers really come in handy, and they're actually practical. It kind of works with the ergonomics. The problem is with this bike, the styling on it, if you were to throw ape hangers on this motorcycle, personally, I think that would be an absolute travesty, man. I think it would look horrible, in my opinion, just in my opinion. However, if you were to get maybe a 3.5, pullback riser and bars with just a slightly taller swoop to them,
then I think ergonomics would be a lot more comfortable on the motorcycle, but it's not terrible. The thing about this bike is it's interesting because unlike a lot of your like big touring motorcycles that are going to come fully equipped with floorboards, all that good stuff, this bike you can get it with the windshield, with saddlebags. I'm sure you could probably slap some floorboards on it. I actually have crash bars and highway pegs for it, but I don't see this bike as one that I would get if I knew I was going to be doing lots and lots of touring. You know, I mean, sure, it could handle it, no doubt, on the freeway as far as the engine and performance and power, but it just doesn't really seem to capture all of that. However, where this bike really just hammers it home is it's a really fun ripper around town, around the city. But of course, if you do those 2-3 hour rides, it's not going to have any problem. And for the occasional overnight camping trip and stuff, it can also handle it. So just kind of all around as a big cruiser, it's going to check most of those boxes. It just would not be a primary touring bike for me. This is my first really time getting out, you know, cruising the town on this motorcycle, and it feels cool, dude. It feels cool. It's got kind of an aggressive, almost muscle bike like feel to it. Handling seems to be pretty good. I've yet to scrape a peg, so it doesn't easily scrape. Yeah, this thing is a blast, dude. It really is. I can't help but just kind of open up the throttle. Yeah, I gotta say I'm having fun on it so far. Having a lot of fun. So how does it stack up to your Harley Davidsons? You know, most people competing with Harley Davidson, like your Japanese metric brands, they don't have the heritage that Harley Davidson has. Triumph has that heritage because they've also been around a long time. They're no new kid on the block when it comes to motorcycles. And so that is one way in which it's able to compete with Harley, you know, a little different than some other brands. I really do feel like this bike is one where for a dude who wants a cruiser but just knows he's not going to go the Harley route and that's just not his cup of tea, this offers that option. I don't know that you'll be taking people away from the Harley market necessarily, probably a small hand few. It feels like a muscle cruiser, man. I didn't buy this expecting a muscle cruiser, but that's kind of what it feels like, dude. A lot of fun. I'm gonna jump on the freeway up here. We'll see how she handles at higher speeds. Maybe we'll get a 0 to 60 run in here in a little bit. The seat seems pretty comfortable, nice and wide. The suspension feels quite plush, but it also feels like if you were to get into it, that it will actually hold up, you know. It feels pretty solid. And again, the braking as well with the ABS, the braking seems pretty solid as well. So yeah, I mean, I'm actually having a lot more fun on this little cruiser than I imagined I would, because I'll say the looks are slightly deceiving. Looking at this bike, I feel like the lines are just a little bit off. I'm not a big fan of the chopper fender, the tank. You know, it's just not my style, at least from the profile picture. But all that goes out the window once you jump on and start riding it. And I just can't get over the sound of the exhaust. It's not over the top obnoxious, but she does sound good. Yeah, this is an awesome bike here. Alright, let's hit the freeway and see how she feels at these higher speeds. Oh yeah, this thing just gets up to speed, no problem whatsoever. And it feels solid. Yeah, windshield would be nice just to deflect the wind at these speeds, but I don't feel so much like I'm a sail in the wind, you know, like it's gonna pick up and go. Because the bike feels planted, and it's a good 700 plus pounds. It is not a lightweight bike, but the balance of the weight is not bad. I might take it back. I would say properly equipped, I think this thing would handle splendid touring. Oh my gosh, this suspension really feels pretty dang solid, man. I don't feel like the bike is getting all squirrely around these curves. You know, I gotta say, I did not know what to expect coming into this, and I just kind of anticipated, you know, yeah, it's a cruiser. Riding this, I'm really pleasantly surprised. It is a fun performance cruiser, I think 100%. All right, man. All right, let's slow down and gather our thoughts, man. Woo. Let's collect our thoughts here for a second. All right. So this motorcycle, it's so far been quite the experience. I expected your typical cruiser, you know, kind of heavier, slower, performance-wise, not really quite there. And I have to say that has not been my experience. This bike is rad. This bike is cool, man. What I love so far about this bike on this first ride is just that visceral riding experience. It is a fun bike to ride despite being a heavier, bigger displacement cruiser. It has that muscle bike feel to it where it just begs to be opened up. It begs to be full open throttle, pedal to the metal. It's grunty, it sounds good, it shifts smooth though, the handling is still good. It doesn't feel like it's about to fall apart or rattle apart or break down on me. It kind of combines what I get with a Honda Goldwing and what I like about a Harley Davidson in a sense. It's really interesting, it's unique. I was not expecting that with this motorcycle, and I like it. I like it, man. I must say that I do. Let's see if we can get a little 0 to 60 action here. Woo! Yeah, she's a fast bike, all right. Fun is the word that comes to my mind. So much so, in fact, that I was about to call this a ride, but I think we might have to do one more quick jaunt. Man, I just can't get over it, man. I can't get over the sound. I can't get over the feel of the throttle. The handling, just like all of it combined, is really, really solid. I never recommended this when I was talking, you know, performance muscle cruisers. I always talk about the Roadstar Warrior, the Honda VTX 1800, M109R Boulevard, but this bike is like all of a sudden, bam, it's up there high because it's kind of got all of that, and it's unique. It's a Triumph. It's a parallel twin, you know? And handling, I wouldn't say like necessarily nimble, but I'd say it's got intuitive handling. It feels good. I don't really feel like I have to muscle it around too hard when I'm, you know, doing a U-turn or doing any of that. If I were to compare this to like a 2010 Harley Super Glide or Wide Glide, just bone stock out of the factory, I gotta say I'd probably have more fun on this bike. But the thing about Triumph, again, is I don't think Triumph is really about stacking it up to Harley or stacking it up to the other bikes. Triumph is unique. They've always been unique. They've always done things their way. The inline 3, the parallel twins, you know, the Rocket 3. They don't really go by the trends. They're not influenced so much by what everybody else is doing. And even when they are, they add their own little spice to it. And I think they did all of that with this motorcycle. And they just offer a really rad machine, one that I had never considered before. The biggest drawback for me is the look and design. I'm just not a big fan of the lines, the aesthetic look of the bike. It's not real pleasing to the eye, at least in my opinion. But I really feel cool on this bike, as dumb as it sounds. It's a cool feeling motorcycle. And most importantly, it's an absolute blast to ride. And so I would highly recommend this, man, if anybody has an option to try one out. I'm debating selling it at the price that I have it offered up at, because I think it's worth more. I really do. But anyway, there you have it, you guys. John's Moto Garage. Thank you for the support. This is the first bike that's kicking off my YouTube Moto Flip project, so check out that series if you haven't already. I'm going to demonstrate how you can start start with a small budget of $2,000 to $3,000 and trade your way up to your dream motorcycle. It's going to take time. This bike, I got a steal of a deal on it. Definitely a fluke. It's not one that comes around often. So check out those videos. You can see how much I paid for it, how much I ended up selling it for, and all that good stuff. And stay tuned to see what the next bike is that I buy. Alright, you guys, like and subscribe. You can hit me on Instagram at John's Motor Garage. This has been an absolute blast and a joy to ride. Definitely a pleasant surprise. So we'll catch you guys on the next one. Adios, nos vemos.